A millionaire falls in love with a homeless mother he finds sleeping with her children in a train. The 11:47 p.m. express train to Chicago was nearly empty, save for a few late-night travelers scattered across the dimly lit cars. Marcus Wellington adjusted his Italian leather briefcase and loosened his silk tie, exhaustion weighing heavily on his shoulders after another 16-hour day of board meetings and corporate negotiations. As CEO of Wellington Industries, a multi-billion-dollar tech empire, he was accustomed to luxury jets and private cars. But tonight's last-minute business trip had left him with no choice but to take the train. As he walked through the cars searching for his first-class seat, something made him stop. In the corner of a worn coach seat, huddled together like fragile birds in a storm, was a woman with two small children. The mother, who couldn't have been older than 30, had wrapped her thin jacket around her sleeping children, a boy of perhaps 6 and a girl who looked no more than 4. Her own body shivered as she stayed awake, vigilant, protecting her little ones from the cold air conditioning that filled the train car. Marcus stood frozen in the aisle, his heart clenching at the sight. The woman's clothes were clean but clearly well worn. Her shoes had holes that she'd tried to cover with duct tape, and her purse, if it could be called that, was a worn canvas bag that had seen better days. Yet despite their obvious poverty, there was something beautiful about the scene before him. The way she gently stroked her daughter's hair, the protective way she positioned herself between her children and the aisle, the quiet strength in her tired eyes when she noticed him watching. Their eyes met for just a moment, and Marcus saw not shame or embarrassment but dignity. She straightened her shoulders and lifted her chin slightly, as if to say, "We may be down, but we're not defeated." That simple gesture of pride and resilience hit Marcus like a lightning bolt, awakening something in his heart that years of board meetings and profit margins had nearly extinguished. Unable to sleep in his first-class compartment, Marcus found himself returning to check on the small family several times throughout the night. Each time the mother was still awake, still watching over her children like a guardian angel. When dawn broke over the Illinois countryside, he made a decision that would change all their lives forever. "Excuse me," Marcus said softly, approaching their seats as the train began to slow for Chicago's Union Station. The woman's eyes immediately became alert and cautious. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I couldn't help noticing that you and your children might need somewhere to stay." The woman, whose name he would soon learn was Sarah, pulled her children closer instinctively. "We're fine, thank you," she said, politely but firmly, though her voice betrayed the exhaustion she felt. Marcus raised his hands in a peaceful gesture. "I understand your caution, and I respect it. My name is Marcus Wellington, and I own a small hotel downtown." He deliberately didn't mention his massive corporate empire, sensing it might intimidate her. "I'd like to offer you and your children a room for a few nights. No strings attached. You look like you could use a safe place to rest." Sarah's initial instinct was to refuse. She'd learned the hard way that nothing in life came free, especially not from strangers in expensive suits. But as she looked down at her children, still sleeping peacefully despite their uncomfortable surroundings, her maternal instincts overruled her pride. Her 6-year-old son Tommy had been coughing for days, and little Emma had been asking for a real bed, like the ones she remembered from before their world fell apart. The challenges Sarah faced were overwhelming and heartbreaking. 3 months earlier, she had been a different person entirely, a happy wife and mother living in a modest but comfortable home in Detroit. She had worked part-time as a school librarian while her husband, Jake, worked construction. Their life wasn't glamorous, but it was stable and filled with love. Then Jake was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and their world crumbled like a house of cards in a hurricane. The medical bills came fast and fierce. First, they used their savings. Then they borrowed against their home. When Jake's condition worsened and he could no longer work, Sarah took on extra jobs, working nights at a diner and weekends cleaning offices. But it wasn't enough. Jake's treatments were experimental and expensive, and their insurance company fought every claim. Within 6 months, they lost their house, their car, and eventually, Jake lost his battle with cancer, left with nothing but debt and grief. Sarah had packed what little they could carry and bought 3 bus tickets to Chicago, where her sister lived. But when they arrived, they discovered her sister had moved months earlier, without leaving a forwarding address. With less than $40 to their name and nowhere to go, Sarah had been living day by day, sleeping in shelters when they could get in, spending nights in the train station when they couldn't, always moving to avoid the authorities who might separate her from her children. The first challenge Marcus faced was earning Sarah's trust. Despite his genuine intentions, she remained guarded and suspicious. Years of hardship had taught her that people, especially wealthy people, often had hidden motives. When he showed her to a beautiful suite at the Chicago Grand Hotel, one of his properties, she accepted gratefully, but kept her guard up, ready to leave at the first sign of trouble. Marcus found himself thinking about Sarah and her children constantly. He would stop by the hotel daily, ostensibly to check on business matters, but really to see how they were doing. He brought toys for the children and groceries for Sarah, always framing his generosity as hotel amenities or excess from business meetings. Slowly, carefully, he began to chip away at the walls Sarah had built around her heart. The breakthrough came 2 weeks later when little Emma developed a high fever in the middle of the night. Sarah, panicked and with no money for a doctor, called the front desk in desperation. Marcus, who had left instructions to be contacted about anything concerning their family, rushed to the hotel and drove them to the emergency room, staying with them through the long night as doctors treated Emma for pneumonia. As Sarah watched this wealthy stranger hold her daughter's hand in the hospital waiting room, singing softly to keep her calm during the medical procedures, something inside her began to shift. She saw past the expensive clothes and confident demeanor to the kind, gentle man underneath. Marcus, for his part, felt more alive and purposeful in that hospital than he had in years of corporate success. Their relationship faced significant challenges beyond their obvious differences in social class and wealth. Sarah struggled with feelings of inadequacy and dependence, hating that she had to rely on Marcus's charity. She had always been independent and self-sufficient, and accepting help felt like failure. Marcus, meanwhile, had to learn how to be vulnerable and genuine in a relationship, having spent years surrounded by people who were interested in his money rather than his heart. The media attention became another major obstacle when a gossip columnist spotted them together at a children's playground. Suddenly, their private relationship was splashed across tabloids with headlines like "Billionaire's Charity Case" and "CEO's Homeless Girlfriend." The cruel articles made Sarah feel exposed and humiliated, while Marcus's business associates questioned his judgment and worried about the company's image. Sarah's pride nearly destroyed their relationship when she read particularly vicious articles suggesting she was a gold digger who was using her children to manipulate a wealthy man. That night she packed their few belongings and tried to leave, unable to bear the thought that people might believe those lies about her or her children. Marcus found her at the train station, tickets in hand, tears streaming down her face as Tommy and Emma asked why they had to leave the nice man who had become like a father to them. In the middle of that crowded station, Marcus got down on one knee, not to propose, but to look directly into her eyes as he spoke from his heart. "Sarah, I don't care what anyone says or thinks. These past 3 months with you and your children have been the happiest of my life. You've taught me what real wealth looks like. It's love, it's family. It's having someone to care about more than yourself. I'm not asking you to marry me because I feel sorry for you. I'm asking you to give us a chance because I've fallen completely, deeply in love with the strongest, most amazing woman I've ever met." The transformation in both their lives was gradual but profound. Sarah enrolled in night classes to finish her degree in library science, while Marcus used his connections to help her secure a position at Northwestern University's library. She insisted on contributing financially to their household, no matter how small her salary compared to his wealth. Marcus, meanwhile, began restructuring his business practices to focus more on social responsibility and giving back to communities in need. Tommy and Emma flourished in their new environment, attending excellent schools and making friends, but never forgetting where they came from. Marcus legally adopted both children, and they brought joy and perspective to his previously sterile, work-focused life. He learned to coach Little League and attended school plays with the same intensity he once reserved for board meetings. Their wedding, held in a small chapel with close family and friends, was featured not in the society pages, but in a local newspaper's human interest section, celebrating a love story that transcended social boundaries. Sarah wore her grandmother's dress, altered to fit perfectly, and Marcus had never seen anything more beautiful. Together, they established the Sarah Wellington Foundation, dedicated to helping homeless families find stability and support. They opened transitional housing facilities, job training programs, and child care services, always remembering Sarah's words. "We don't just need a handout, we need a hand up." Yeah. 5 years later, as Marcus watched Sarah reading bedtime stories to their children in their warm, loving home, he reflected on how much his definition of success had changed. His companies were more profitable than ever, but that success paled in comparison to the wealth of love and purpose Sarah had brought to his life. Sarah, too, had found peace with their journey. She no longer felt ashamed of where she had come from, understanding that her struggles had shaped her into the compassionate, strong woman Marcus fell in love with. She used her experiences to help other families facing similar challenges, becoming a beacon of hope for those who felt forgotten by society. Their love story became an inspiration to many, proving that true connection transcends social class, wealth, and circumstance. It demonstrated that sometimes the most profound love grows not from shared advantages, but from shared values, mutual respect, and the willingness to see the divine spark in another human being, regardless of their current circumstances. The train that brought them together on that cold night had been heading toward Chicago, but in reality, it was carrying them both toward their destiny, a love that would transform not only their own lives but the lives of countless families. They would help along the way. Sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin with the most unexpected encounters, and sometimes the greatest treasures are found not in boardrooms or bank accounts, but in the simple act of opening your heart to someone who needs it most. Thank you so much for watching this incredible love story. Stories like these remind us that love truly knows no boundaries and that kindness can change lives in ways we never imagine. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to hear this message of hope today. For more inspiring stories about love, kindness, and the power of human connection, make sure to subscribe to Millionaire in Love and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Your support means the world to me and helps these stories reach more hearts around the globe. Remember, we all have the power to be someone's Marcus, to see the beauty and dignity in others regardless of their circumstances. Until next time, keep spreading love and kindness wherever you go.